It's not a car. It's a ship. 1.5 tons of net weight under you and around you really feel. Quite a big device. I feel like I'm in a time machine. It accurately conveys the spirit of the world automotive era of that time. I emphasize, the world. Do you see the glazing? Panoramastique. What? Yes, it is Panoramastique, as it used to be called. Before the Volga, there were no such glasses on passenger cars from GAZ, and on others too. Later they were. The end of the 1950s can be called the most dynamically developing time in the whole world, and the Soviet Union was no exception. The USSR was the first to launch an artificial Earth satellite on October 4, 1957. During this period, everything breathed space and aviation, and literally. Now let's get back to the discussion of the car. Volga. In our automotive world, it became the beginning of an essentially single promising socialist style. It is worth noting that it was finally formed in a couple of years, when the All-Russian Research Institute of Technical Aesthetics was opened at the largest exhibition center of the USSR VDNH. But GAZ-M-21 is a harbinger of Soviet mass design. At the beginning of production, it was called GAZ-M-21, because the plant still bore the name of Molotov. So this model was stylish and fashionable. Why did I say was? I have already said that the late 50s, early 60s was the dawn of technology and style. And in America, the design of cars changed approximately every 2 to 3 years. Soviet designers were inspired by the American automobile school and designed our models with an eye on the masters, Ford, Plymouth, Kaiser. This is how new Soviet models were created. Anyone who claims that there was no copying has a fairly superficial understanding of history. There is evidence for this, and it is simple. Foreign cars were purchased for research at a time when the running prototypes of the future Volga were already being tested with might and main. But there was one caveat. What was considered a new look for the USSR was modern for Europe, and obsolete for the USA. Therefore, having appeared in 1956, the GAZ-M-21 was already modernized in the 58th. And in April 1962, the Gorky Automobile Plant began production of the third series. This is what it is. GAZ-M-21 3 Series under the letter R. The first thing that catches your eye is the radiator grille, the so-called whalebone. From the hood, it rode off into the forest from pedestrians and vandals along a shiny alley, taking with it the chrome molding of the hood. The fangs from the bumper are also a thing of the past, and the chrome lip itself has become more narrowed and elegant. Even the emblem of the Enterprise has been reformatted and simplified, becoming more airy and modern. The bumper has been slimmed down for style. The back has also undergone cosmetic changes. Now let's take a closer look at the lighting. Lanterns have become a single glass, plastic block, as you can see. Previously, they were separated here by a chrome jumper. And of course, a new seagull bird settled here. It's beautiful, isn't it? The most recognizable item on the flea market. But the luggage compartment remained unchanged, which is logical. Its volume is 105 gallons, which is a lot. For centuries, the fifth wheel has been sat in it, which has practically no place of its own. In fact, there is no full-fledged place for it, since a flat 15-gallon gas tank has also settled under the floor for centuries. I like to sit in the back seats in the Volga. It's good to look at the burning Rome from here. If you know what I mean. By the way, wheel arches do not interfere at all, unlike Pobeda. Do you know why? Because for the Volga, the designers took wheels of a smaller radius. Just look at this sofa. 3 people can easily fit here. Handles, ashtrays, everything suggests that this is the level of a government limousine. Of course, I'm kidding. It is also interesting that the front sofa can be expanded. Rotary type lock. Fabulous. So, to begin with, we need to move the entire sofa forward and unscrew the twists on the sides to make it possible to lower the back. Now we have it like this. The next step is to move it. Well, gentlemen. No, the gentlemen don't need to come here. Ladies. Great. The springs. Okay. Restyling, in modern terms, has reached this interior. In general, the concept has not changed: wide, spacious, light, and the changes added practicality to the cabin. The upholstery of the ceiling is now made of light leather, which made the interior lighter and more practical. The seats and interior door panels received new decorative materials. The front is also free, probably due to the wide sofa. Too bad the back doesn't recline anymore. But such is the design. Cool dashboard. I always liked the speedometer in the Volga. As a child, it reminded me of a part of the Moon rover. The torpedo is trimmed with leatherette. By the way, all Volga from the factory came with radios. See, it says radio here? Even the factory paper has been preserved. This book is from that car. But there is one interesting thing in the book. It contains all the necessary and unnecessary numbers. Here are the chassis number, body number, radio number, clock number, which were also always present in the Volga, and the key number. 666 to 86. Here it is. The key that opens the road to hell. Kidding. So, right there, in this little book. Take a look here. Even the working hours of the service station are indicated. Now a few words about the motor, and let's go. Test it out. What a sound. Real, heavy, iron, bonnet. Ooh, beauty. For Soviet times, the motor was quite good. GAZ-M-21 gasoline, carburetor, 4-cylinder, 150 cubic inches, power of 75 horsepower at 4,000 RPM. This was made possible thanks to a new carburetor and an improved gas distribution system. The maximum torque is 170 Newton meters at 2,200 RPM. Do you see the combined brake cylinder and clutch reservoir? The brake system here is single circuit. If the clutch breaks, then the brakes will not. If the brakes break, then the clutch too. The sound of a running engine of the Volga exhaust system remained recognizable forever. I hope for you too. Just like howling under acceleration. Despite the fact that there is a hypoid rear axle with semi-unloaded axle shafts. By the way, to adjust it, you need to disassemble it all. That's how it's arranged. It doesn't ride, it floats. And what springs? This particular car, of course, was improved by the owners. There are already other normal shock absorbers as today, and not lever ones as before. This improved the smoothness of the ride and reduced the number of lubrication points, of which there are already so many. After all, the front suspension is pivot, although then it was already an anachronism, as well as the pointless handbrake on the cardan. But kingpins with reliable care are much more reliable than ball ones. Now let's talk about the gearbox. Automatic transmission. It would be great. And so it was. The first cars with such boxes served in a special purpose garage. But then the party considered that it was expensive and difficult to service and maintain the machines. For the sake of economy, it was decided to switch back to manual transmissions, which were cheaper to maintain. Therefore, ordinary people traveled like that, and now there is a 3-speed gearbox with a shift on the steering wheel, where only 2 gears are synchronized. In theory, the lever on the steering wheel allows 3 people to sit in front. There is a lot of space. A few more words about the suspension. It is interesting that the front lever is built based on GAZ-M and is unified with some elements. Is a brake booster necessary? It seems to me that no, and so everything is fine. But I want the pedal to be a little softer and the steering wheel more pleasant. And now a couple of interesting points. Brake pipes here are made of iron. You're right, they rot and burst, but burst at the seam. And further, when balancing the wheels, it was necessary to first balance the brake drums and then only the wheels. I mean, it was not an easy task. But who cared in the middle of the last century? They did it the way it was supposed to. Have you already guessed where I found this unique device? This car has a history. The Volga GAZ-M-20 entered the service in the special purpose garage in 1957 and was used as an escort vehicle. They served honestly, serviced regularly. This car has survived to this day and is an exhibit of the Museum of the Special Purpose Garage of the Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation. But it's hard for me to call it an exhibit. It can still reach 80 miles per hour today, and it accelerates to 60 miles per hour in 34 seconds. How do you like this museum exhibit? Despite the fact that the car is large, it is not very comfortable to sit behind the wheel. Because the distance from the chest to the steering wheel is small, and you can't move the seat back to the end. And the back is too upright. Therefore, it turns out that your legs are tucked in to press the pedals. So much space, but not enough space for the driver. But it's all very simple to explain. In those days, people were not as huge as I am. In those years, the GAZ-M-20 cost 5,500 Soviet rubles. And also, if you wanted to be fashionable, then for 300 rubles you were offered a set of chrome moldings. 300 rubles was a lot with a salary of 100. But in spite of everything, the designers managed to create a car that still looks amazing today. And I'm sure that the name Volga will shine again. It must return in a new form, and then no one will be able to forget about it, even if they want to. In the meantime, the hunt continues.